Assalamualaikum to Menda Akmal and to all my fellow classmates. Today, we are going to present to you on the types of recognition and its processes. This year, many Malaysians has never been challenged quite like this. With the pandemic that is still active, many are unemployed and have been laid off. This is where trade union played a role as the representative of individuals who have grievances or problems. Maimunah Aminuddin has defined recognition as an individual employer that is willing to accept the union as the rightful representative of his workers, basically giving permission to the union to officially act as their representative for their workers.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Amira Tikah binti Muhammad Saiful. So as we can see in the slide, there are two types of recognition. The first one is general recognitions and the second one is limited recognition. So there are two types of recognition. The first one is general recognitions. General recognitions is where its member can represent the majority of workers in their place. So in order to do that, they must be proved that its members are from the majorities of workers in respect of whom union is representing. So it means that they must be more than 50% of majority of workers in the workplace. It means that if it's less than 50%, that does not consider as majority and they cannot imply general recognition. For example, if there are hundreds employees in a workplace, there must be 50 employees that are joined trade union so that they can seek general recognitions. So for those who have joined general recognitions, they will have the full representations of all of its employees in their workplace, and they can also collective bargaining with their employer regarding working conditions such as wages and working hours. One of the implications of general recognition is that general recognition can represent for all of employees in their workplace, whether they are non-members or members, which means that if they are non-members, they can still negotiate on behalf of them. So the non-union members don't need to worry about them because the union members can do that for them. So this can give them opportunity to speak up any dissatisfactions issue that they are facing in their workplace. They also can commence a full bargaining power regarding working conditions such as wages or working hours. Furthermore, this can build up a trusting relationship between employees and employees, which can lead to a company success. Furthermore, general recognition will be giving rights to claim, negotiate, or discuss on working condition matters that they are facing. It means that the employers agree to negotiate for all the employees that are represented by the trade union. For example of issues or problems that they can negotiate are wages, working hour, or working conditions. This can be done by voluntary or statutory. It means that if voluntary, the employer agree to recognize the union without legal procedures. Once trade union is being recognized, the employers are bound to fulfill certain duties and responsibility. This can help the economic efficiency and increase inequalities of workers' wages. The last implications of general recognition is that they can commence collective bargaining. So what is collective bargaining? So according to Industrial Relations Act 1967, is defined as negotiating a view to concluding a collective agreement. It is a formal process between the employees and employers on changing the terms of working condition. For example, this situation is between employers and employee negotiating on changing the working condition term, such as they want to change it from low wage to higher wage. The employers and the members will be invited to attend workmen to collective bargaining. Therefore, the employers and employees need to agree on how the arrangement is to be made in order the collective bargaining to be worked. So this can help to solve the working condition issue or problem that employees are facing. So if the collective bargaining is successful, it will be ended with an agreement. So this can reflect the good relations between the employers and employees.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Najwa and I'll be representing about limited recognition. Limited recognition is when the union is entitled to make representation on individual and to negotiate on behalf of its members. It doesn't mean that if the members of such union are a minority in a factory, the union itself may claim to represent its own members in cases of individual grievance, but it cannot battle on behalf of all workmen in the factory. Other than that, limited recognition is where the trade union can only claim or ask to represent his own members in cases related grievance or personal satisfaction. The employer may afford the union limited recognition, which is recognition limited to individual grievance. Lastly, for limited recognition, it must be less than 50% workers join the trade union. Those who have joined the trade union may seek limited recognition if it has less than 50 members employed as workers or employees by the organization. Now, I'll be explaining about the implication of limited recognition. There are 3 points of implication of limited recognition. Firstly, the implication of limited recognition is that the trade union cannot commence collective bargaining. It is only for individual grievances. The trade union can only entitle to make commence collective bargaining like general recognition if it's on individual grievances. They cannot make such collective bargaining like general recognition as it is not the same recognition. Collective bargaining is defined according to Industrial Relations Act 1976 as a negotiation with view to conclude a collective agreement. It is a traditional process that leads to a contract between employees and employer on any sort of things regarding employment. This can be done only for individual grievances for limited recognition. So if such individual complain to make a collective bargaining, their complaint will be fulfilled, and when the collective bargaining is successful, it will end with an agreement. Next, one of the implications of the limited recognition is the limited recognition can be represented from the union members only. So only the employees of the members of the union can represent or involve in finding the solution of the working condition matters. If they are not the members of the union, it is impossible for the union members to negotiate on behalf of everyone. Only the members of the union can speak up on dissatisfaction or poor conditions that they are facing in the organization. This is to make sure that the complaint or grievances is not overwhelming and more systematic by making sure that few selected one can speak up regarding this matter. And lastly, the implication of limited recognition is the trade union is prohibited to negotiate or bargain in order to help members to solve problems on behalf of all workers at workplace. They does not have the right to claim, negotiate or bargain for helping the members solve all problems of all workers or employees at the workplace. For better understanding, the trade union only can represent its own members in cases of individual grievances but it cannot bargain on behalf of all employees. The cases or problems that been issued cannot be bargained or negotiated. They have to do in the right way and in the right terms when solving the problems. Different from general recognition, they have right to claim and negotiate with the employer. Regardless how difficult the problem is, the trade union can help its members to solve all the problems or issues related to working conditions as they are prohibited to bargain. So they can only solve the problems of their workers at workplace by book, which means strictly following the rules or official way of solving those problems. There are a few process and procedures to apply on recognition. Based on this slide, this is the process and procedures of recognition. Firstly, employer accord recognition. Secondly, employer refuse recognition. Thirdly, employer applying to DGIR to check members of trade union and trade union have to wait. And lastly, employer ignore claim which the trade union have to report to DGIR. Sharifah Noraini and Ridwan will explain more detail on this topic and I will pass it to them.
Now I am going to present to you the first step on claiming recognition, which is employer accord recognition. Section 9 of the Industrial Relations Act has laid out the fundamental procedures on how a union can claim recognition. First step is that the union will have to obtain recognition once the employer successfully accord their workers. The next step is that the union will have to fill out a recognition form, or known as Form A. In the form, they will have to fill out the name, address, and specify the workers from whom the union requesting recognition. The copy of the union constitution will be sent out to the DGIR, or known as the Director General of Industrial Relations. And finally, the employer will be given 21 days to reply to either accept or reject the claim for recognition. So the next is, what if the employer refuses to give recognition? According to Section 9, Subsection 4 of the Industrial Relations Act, the employer can refuse to grant recognition and will have to give their reasons behind the refusal. There are many reasons as to why employer refuse to grant recognition. The first is that by giving recognition, they will soon be followed by a bargaining process. This will surely put a lot of pressure to the employers because the employers will have to meet and satisfy the demand from the workers and also the union. Some employers have deliberately delayed the recognition process because they want to avoid the collective bargaining. This is very bad to the company as it will tarnish their reputation. So the next procedure, I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sharifah Noraini binti Said Kamarul Azhar, and now I'm going to continue the presentation from the previous presenter on the process of recognition. So the third process of recognition is the employer applying to the Director General Industrial Relations to check the member of the trade union, and the trade union shall be with. In this process, the employers within 21 days shall apply to the Director General Industrial Relations (DGIR) to ascertain whether or not the trade union is fulfills the requirements of recognition. So the requirements of recognition, there are four, which are: the union must be a registered union, the union must be competent to represent the employees concerned, the union must be the appropriate union to represent the employees concerned, and the union must be sufficiently representatives of the employees concerned for at least 51%. So, the Director General Industrial Relations has the power to determine whether on the date of the claim the workers are within the scope of the trade union's constitution, and he can hold a secret ballot of the workers to determine the percentage of the workers who support the union. So secret ballot is a voting method which are being used in conjunction with various voting systems. So according to Section 9 subsection 4A Industrial Relations Act 1967, it stated that the Director General Industrial Relations may take such steps or make such inquiries to ascertain the competence of the trade union of workmen concerned to represent any workman or class of workmen in respect of whom the recognition is sought to be accorded, and by way of secret ballot. Subsection 4A also stated that the DGIR, which is the Director General Industrial Relations, shall notify the Minister and decide that the recognition is to be accorded to the union involved. In this process, if the majority of the workers support the union, it is likely that the recognition will be granted by the Director General Industrial Relations. Compare by if there are an insufficient number of workers support the union, it means that the recognition is not likely to be granted and will have to wait for 1 year before it can submit another claim. Now we are going to proceed to the next process of recognition, which is the fourth process, where if the employer ignores the claim, the trade union shall make a report to the Director General Industrial Relations. It has been stated under the Section 10 of Industrial Relations Act 1967, where the section itself makes it illegal for an employer to declare a lockout or for workers to picket or strike while a claim is being disposed. According to Section 10, Subsection 1, Industrial Relations Act 1967, no workman shall go on strike or do anything which is rendered lawful by virtue of the proviso to Subsection 40, Subsection 1, for whatever reason during the pendency of proceedings under Section 9. Section 10, Subsection 2 also stated that no employer shall declare a lockout or terminate the services of a workman once a trade union of workmen has served on the employer or a trade union of employers to which the employer belongs. Okay, so the existence of Section 10 is to prevent an unscrupulous employer from getting rid of the employees, especially the leaders who have already joined the union. Some employers may threaten to dismiss or transfer the workers who are known as the union activists. So, a registered union which has been applied for recognition by the employer but has been refused their recognition by the employer, the workers of the trade union shall send to the Director General Industrial Relations a report for the issue of a compulsory recognition. Last but not least, to be concluded, a recognition is very important as it will give a lot of benefits and advantages, especially to the employees. So, the recognition enables the individual members who have grievances or complaints to be represented by the union to help them to come up with solutions and decisions. By being consulted or negotiated by the recognized union, the workers are likely to feel more involved in the way the business is run and also can encourage trust and commitment among the workforce. Recognized trade unions also are likely to have a broad perspective on many issues that might affecting the organization. By having a recognition, It helps the organization to make a better informed business decision in general and improving the workforce among the workers.